Welcome to Healthy Births, Happy Babies, where we share tips, tools, and stories grounded in natural childbirth and parenting principles, so that instead of feeling overwhelmed and confused during this exciting time in your life, you feel safe, supported, and empowered in your childbirth and parenting journey. And now, here's your host, Dr. Jay Warren.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Healthy Births, Happy Babies. I'm Dr. Jay Warren. I'm the Family Wellness Chiropractor and the Wellness Care Coordinator here at the CAP Wellness Center. And today is our anniversary. It was a year ago yesterday, at the time of publishing this episode, that we launched the podcast in iTunes. And today is also our 50th episode, which is another milestone. And as of this morning, checking the numbers, we also reached the 80,000 download mark. So there's been a tremendous reception for this podcast. I mean, I remember more than a year ago when we were concepting this, I really wanted it as an audio library of information from all of the amazing people that work here in CAP Wellness. And I thought a podcast would be a great way of archiving all of that information, easily accessible for our patients coming into the prenatal wellness center here. And that's how it started off. We have an amazing team here, lots of expertise, lots of wisdom that we just started interviewing all these people. And through the beauty of iTunes, it branched out everywhere. We had a lot of people around the country and frankly around the world looking for this type of information. And then I started reaching out to other experts and asking them to be on our podcast and to share their wisdom. And we've had amazing guests as well, not just the experts here at CAP Wellness, but people like Dr. Michelle O'Donnell and Penny Simpkin and Dr. Sarah Buckley and Dr. Bruce Lipton. I mean, just amazing people in the birth community that are so generous of their time and their sharing. And you can scroll through our list here in iTunes of all the different episodes, different topics, and just listen to the ones that really resonate with you or you need more information about. And today's episode is, as I said, going to be a book review of The Secrets of the Baby Whisperer. It's a book that a lot of people have asked about, and over the year, getting a lot of feedback from our listeners. We're going to be doing more segments like this as well. We're still going to be having great guests on and having them share their wisdom, but some of the books that have been heard a lot about, if we're not able to get the author of that book or that program onto the podcast to kind of explain it themselves, then I want to make sure they have the information here about what that book or program is so that they can get a taste of it and say, yes, this seems like something I want to check out for my family, or in listening to it decide that doesn't resonate and they can move on to the next one. So we're going to be starting to do more things like that. We're also going to be adding in another segment I'm going to call Listener Mail, where I answer your questions. We've got a lot of feedback of people asking specific things that I'm able to give, emails back. Some are more general, and quite frankly, there's a lot of overlap in some of the questions. So I figured it would be a good thing to answer some of those questions here on an episode so that everyone can hear the answer to it. It's usually one of those things where you're not alone, and the questions that you either don't know about or your concerns that you raise, some other person might have as well. And so we're going to use that segment to collect a bunch of the questions that you have and go through them. And if it's something that I can't answer myself, I'll be able to research or bring a guest on to do a quick answer on that subject. So you can reach us through, in iTunes, you'll see links going to our website, which is the capwellnesscenter.com. That's CAP wellnesscenter.com. There's a contact link. You can send us links through there. Our email address is info@capwellnesscenter.com. And if you would, in the subject line of that email, just place podcast question in there so that it can be funneled to me, and then I can corral those and make sure that they're answered. The other thing I would love for you to do is, if you've been a fan of the show for a long time, and you've already subscribed, thank you. If you've already rated and reviewed our podcast in iTunes, thank you again. If you've not, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, or you're brand new to it and this is your first episode, please go into iTunes, either on your phone or on your desktop. You can click the subscribe button. What that does is then it means that each episode that we publish will automatically come to you, so you won't miss anything as we publish it. But then also you can go into the ratings and reviews, and if you wouldn't mind going in there, giving us a 5-star if you love it, and that really helps our reach as well, because the more ratings and reviews that are in there allows our reach within iTunes to be stronger. So thank you if you've already done that, and thank you in advance if you're about to do that, okay? So, but before we go into today's topic of the book review, as always, I want to take a moment for our sponsor, the CAP Wellness Center. Hi, it's Dr. J, and one of the things I love about working at the CAP Wellness Center is being able to play a role in bringing a baby into the world that much more safely, much more naturally, and much more healthy. You know, it's something that is an amazing gift to give a child, to have them start off their life healthy without the stress and the trauma that can all too often be a part of the birth experience. So I consider it an honor to work with pregnant women, to help them with that time during their pregnancy, and it is a privilege to be able to work with infants and help correct any distortions that might have happened through the birth process and allow them to start off their life healthy, in alignment and in balance, so that a health challenge doesn't hold them back from being all that they can be in this world. All right, so now I want to discuss the book, The Secrets of the Baby Whisperer, and it's written by Tracy Hogg. This book came out a number of years ago. Looking it up right now. It was first copyrighted in 2001. Tracy Hogg herself, she's a British trained nurse. She was practicing there as a lactation education consultant, a newborn consultant. Basically, we might call that a postpartum doula here. But she did a lot of work in that country by going to houses after a baby was born and supporting the mom there. I mean, that's a whole other topic about how in Europe they take care of families much better than here in the States. And so that was standard practice of a nurse to go into the home and kind of check out how things are going with mom, with baby, with dad, and give guidance along the way. And she, through all of her years of experience and her skills, kind of became known as the baby whisperer. She was really good at sensing what a baby needed, sensing how a baby worked, and was able to deliver those things to the baby so the baby could be soothed and calmed. And what parent doesn't want that, right? So over her years of experience, she then wrote this book, The Secrets of the Baby Whisperer. And I personally found this book really helpful when my son was born. We all as parents want to have the book that explains everything. You follow it to a T and everything works. And I'll tell you right from the get-go, that just did not happen for me. It might have happened for other people that have used this book. But the reason why I like this book so much and why parents find it so helpful is because it's very middle of the road. It's not a book that's telling you this is how it has to be. It's not very regimented around, feeding times happens every 3 hours. And if you're 5 minutes late, it's going to be detrimental to the baby. It's not a cry it out method. It's not kind of like stricter scheduling type of ways of raising a baby. And it's not on the other side of things either that is strictly attachment parenting. I personally tend to like the attachment parenting paradigm, but it doesn't work for every parent and every family. So the reason why I like this book is it can be more middle ground. And instead of a schedule, she talks about rhythms. She talks about each baby having kind of a cycle and kind of a flow. And the more you can be attentive to that and keep to it, rather than in a schedule of timing sense, kind of like one thing follows another, then the happier baby tends to be. And I know, practically speaking, with my son, that definitely helped a ton to kind of recognize the signs of, oh, he's getting hungry, or, oh, we really should try and put him down because it's around that time. It wasn't because it was 10 o'clock or where there's 4 o'clock. It was just, quote, around that time. And other parents have said the same thing, that it gives you a framework, and I'm going to go through some of her frameworks that she gives, of how to learn your baby's cues and how to get to know your baby. I mean, obviously you're doing that day in, day out, but this gives you some things to look for, which greatly accelerates the process. But before we go into talking about like how she explains how to kind of see what type of baby you are, she does some typing. Her method really is what she calls the E.A.S.Y timetable. E.A.S.Y is an acronym, and it stands for eating, activity, sleeping, and you. And in that cycle, especially in the first weeks and months, it could be a 3-4 hour schedule in that, or cycle, I should say, that you're starting off with eating, whether you're breastfeeding or whether you're doing a bottle or a combination. This is truly a primary need the baby needs. And when the baby's finished eating, then she wants you to go into activity. A lot of times baby will fall asleep at the breast. You'll use the bottle to put the baby down. But what she really recommends is doing activity after eating. And so that might be just like being up and changing diapers, kind of playing around, walking around the house, doing things together in whatever stage your baby is in, whether that's like an infant, it's going to be a lot less obviously than a 3, 4, 5 month old. But the reason why she likes that is because then eating doesn't become coupled with sleeping, which is what comes after the activity. She found one of her big things that she's really a proponent of is she's wanting to build independence for the baby and promoting independence of them sleeping, being able to fall asleep by themselves, being able to fall asleep in their own beds, not in a cry it out method, which has its other, in my opinion, bad effects as far as voicing, but in a way of them being able to self-soothe, which I think is what every parent wants. So after the sleeping, then the why is you. And it's all about devoting some time for yourself, because especially with a newborn gets all of the time, all of the energy, all of the focus. And absolutely at the beginning, like you want to do that and you somewhat have to do that. But if you don't put yourself into the equation, after time, and maybe not right away, but after weeks or definitely months, you'll start feeling so depleted that you're not able to participate and enjoy your family life or be there for your baby as much as you wanted to. And so you time could be taking a nap and could be sleeping. And that's something I'm sure as a new parent you've heard all the time is like, sleep when baby sleeps. You time could be journaling. It could be if you have someone in charge of baby when baby's sleeping, for you to go out for a walk, go for a workout, go for, coffee with a friend, whatever it might be at whatever stage your baby's at. But it's really important to get that you time. And practically speaking, I know how hard that can be. And I'm the dad. I wasn't even mom, but it's something that's really important to add in. So that's her kind of flow. And what her timetable looks like is, eating could take, 20, even up to 40 minutes if they're breastfeeding or bottle feeding. And most babies, if they're above 6 pounds, really can go 2.5, 3 hours to the next feed. Physiologically, they should be able to do that. And so if they're getting a full feeding and they're content, then assuming they're not going through a growth spurt or something where sometimes those feedings shorten up, then that eating time allows them to go through this cycle and this rhythm that she's talking about. And then for the next part of activity is around 45 minutes, she says, like whether it's diapering or changing their clothes, taking a bath, depending on time of day, all little things that you can kind of play with them and have them awake and just really interactive, because sometimes the eating can be sedating, they'll fall asleep afterwards, but then a lot of times eating can help wake them up, because they have nutrition and they have a little energy, and you can have that time to play. And then sleeping time, putting baby down, going for naps or longer stretches throughout the night, depending on where they're at as far as nighttime feedings. And then that you time is while baby is asleep, for at least an hour, you have time to do something for yourself, like get yourself something really good to eat, do some journaling, some reading, something fun, not dishes, not laundry, not cleaning up the house. Although all those things need to be done, I understand, but really put in some time for yourself. She's a big proponent of that, and I'm a big proponent of that as well, especially with all the postpartum work that I do and seeing how depleted some of the women are when they come in. So the next thing in her book that I really like and I found really helpful was the Know Your Baby quiz. She has 20 questions in here that you answer, and there's A, B, C, D, E, multiple choice answers to this based on your baby's behavior and patterns that at the end of the quiz can type your baby into a number of different I don't want to say personalities. It's just more of kind of the type, how their character. 1's the angel baby. 2 is the textbook baby. 3 is the touchy baby. 3 is the spirited baby. 4 is the spirited baby. 5's grumpy baby. And every baby is going to fit more into one of these categories more than another. There's never going to be an exact fit. And of course, every parent wants their baby to be the angel baby. And a lot of times what will happen is if their baby is not an angel baby, the parents feel bad and that they're either not doing a good job or that something's wrong with the baby. And it just might be that they've got a different typing and you just work with that baby differently. And so I'm not going to go through all 20 of the questions, but just to give you an idea, like the first question she asks is, my baby, A, rarely cries, B, cries only when she's hungry, tired, or overstimulated, C, cries for no apparent reason, D, cries very loudly. If I don't attend to it, she quickly gets into a large rage, or E, cries a lot of the time. Or another question is when there's a loud noise like a dog barking or a slamming door, my baby, A, is never rattled, B, notices it but isn't bothered, C, flinches visibly, then starts to cry, D, gets loud himself, or E, starts to cry. And in going through all of these, then, you can tell kind of the A's, the B's, the C's, the D's, and the E's. If they're rarely crying or is never rattled by a loud sound, that's more the angel baby, versus if they cry a lot of the time or starts to cry every time that a loud sound happens, that's more of a grumpy baby. And so she's very good, too, at not judging any one of these things. Again, she says, well, of course, everybody wants the angel baby, but if you've got a grumpy baby, you can help a grumpy baby be more angel-like if you're giving their needs or serving their needs in a different way, The touchy babies can be really difficult simply because that's like you really need to be attentive to a touchy baby that with that rhythm and knowing their cues of when they need to eat and not missing that, or when they need to sleep and not missing nap time, because getting off of that rhythm really upsets them, and it's harder to get them back on track. Whereas an angel baby is kind of like, all right, everything's cool. Like, you want to sleep now? Okay, fine, I'll do that. Or eating? Oh, we're done? Okay, that's great. Versus the grumpy baby, just a little more wimpy, whimpering, I should say, not wimpy. And just is sensitive, but also needing more attention and more attentiveness to those cycles as far as the eating and the activity and the sleeping, versus an angel baby or a textbook baby. Like, there's a little more flexibility there. So I always have parents read through that and start working with it. And it's something like, in the first couple of days, you're not going to know. You've only had the baby for a couple of days, and you're getting to know each other and getting to know the rhythms. But then after a while, having these questions in mind, then you'll get to know the baby more, and the questions prompt you to learn more and more about yourself, and about the baby. So the last part I wanted to share about the tips that go into it is what she calls a slow down method. SLO, again, is another acronym, and it's basically a method to use whenever the baby's fussing or crying. Rather than jumping in right away, she recommends using this SLO method. And the SLO method stands for stop, listen, observe, what's up. And so the stop is, instead of just rushing right in, just understand, okay, my baby's crying for a reason, and I want to try and figure out what that is and solve that problem or solve that issue as best I can. And so once you stop, you want to listen, like, what does this cry mean? And she talks about how to detect what a hunger cry is, or a tired cry, or I need some love cry. It's super subtle and very difficult, but again, she gives you some criteria on how to go about that. So you're listening, and then you're also observing. What's the baby doing? What's going around the baby? Is that crying because they're too hot, because they've got tons of covers over? Did a breeze just come in and they're cold? Or they have a diaper that needs to be changed? All this kind of things. And then the last one is what's up? Based on what you have listened for and observed, then you respond from there. And really, that's the key with this SLO method, is responding rather than reacting. And especially in intermittent sleep mode and, newborn coming home, and if you're a first-time parent, everything's so new and stressful, we tend to react, and we tend to just jump right in and start doing things without really assessing what needs to be done, if that makes sense. It's one of those things where, the baby's crying and it seems to be the same as yesterday, so you do what worked yesterday, and then if it doesn't work, then you get frustrated because you're like, oh no, like, it worked yesterday, what happened? And that's part of parenthood, if you don't know already, is like, once you get a rhythm going and you think like you got it down, then baby changes it up, and then you need to figure it out once again. But this SLO method allows you to take a beat, to take a breath, kind of respond in the moment. It doesn't mean that you're letting your baby cry for a long time. It could take just a few seconds for you to just kind of stop, to listen, observe, assess what's going on, and then go in and respond. And while you're doing that, taking some deep breaths so that you don't get into that alarm, fight or flight mode, which your baby's going to feel and is not going to make the situation any better. So I hope that helps. This book, I'm a big fan of. I've referred a lot of people to it. The feedback that I've gotten from those people has been really positive, so hope you find it helpful as well. Again, the name of the book is The Secrets of the Baby Whisperer, How to Calm, Connect, and Communicate with Your Baby. It's written by Tracy Hogg, and again, she she was a British trained nurse, and unfortunately she died back in 2004. So thankfully she was able to put all of her expertise down in this book for it to live on, and her expertise and her wisdom to live on to help us parents. So with that, I want to put it out to you as well. If there's a certain book or certain program that you've heard of or are curious about and would like some feedback on, or to do a book review, please contact us through the podcast. Again, at info@capwellnesscenter.com. You can always go onto our Facebook page and put the question there, and we'll respond as quickly as we can. And then also your listener mail. We don't have time to go into that today, but we'll be adding that segment in as well, so that your questions can be answered right here on the podcast. So again, happy anniversary to the podcast. 50 episodes, a year long of podcasting. Looking forward to many, many more. And please, if you haven't subscribed to the to the podcast on iTunes, hit that button. Rate and review would be fantastic as well. So until then, be well.
Thank you for joining us today. For more information about this episode and other natural childbirth and parenting topics, please visit us at capwellnesscenter.com or message us on our Facebook page with any questions you might have. We here at the Cap Wellness Center look forward to helping you and your family be as happy and healthy as you can be.